14, it says, "The Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of no effect." This is from King James. "The counsel of the Lord standeth forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance." Okay? "Our soul waiteth for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. For our heart shall rejoice in him, because we have trusted in his holy name. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be upon us, according as we hope in thee." And in 2 Corinthians 7:14, "If my country shall humble itself and pray and turn from its wicked ways, I will come into them and save them and help them." And I can't, it's 7:14, I believe. Yes. "If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves, pray, and seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land." I believe that's what people go into war. What do they go in there for? What's involved, folks? I mean, boy, oh boy, they're called to serve, they go to serve, they follow orders, they get trained. And in World War II, they needed so many soldiers, and I can remember, I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff on war and stuff, and they weren't ready. Those poor people in Europe, and especially European countries, they were 15 and 16, 17. They give them a gun, and in 2 weeks they're out on the front. And folks, it's World War I was the war to end all wars. Well, that didn't work, did it? No. And of course, in the Bible, what does the Bible say about the end times? That there will be wars and rumors of wars. Has there ever been a time when there weren't wars? Has there ever been a time when mankind could get along? And much of it's over religious war, religion. It is. Religion drove Hitler crazy. Religion drove Nero crazy in the Roman Empire. And Babylonian Nebuchadnezzar, that's a tongue twister, he was driven crazy because of religion. Think about it. And people today in our country are crazy because of not other people's religion. The most persecuted group, religious faith right now, is Christianity, here and throughout the world. So tighten your belt, get your seatbelt on, because you haven't seen anything yet, but can we stay the tide because of our God? Can God plus one equal a majority? Yes. Yes, we don't have a leader that he's tested, man. He's been doing this for a long time. He's been helping people fight back for a long time, hasn't he? Okay, and well, he deserved any one of you. Do you think for 1 minute that God would put you in the middle of something that he isn't right there with you? It ain't going to happen. And here's how, this is rather sort of ironic considering that all the Confederate statues and everything have been taken down. How did Memorial Day start? Where did it get its beginning? Richard Gardiner wrote a whole essay, but I'm not reading the whole thing. In the years following the bitter Civil War, a former Union general took a holiday originated by former Confederates and helped spread it across the entire country. The holiday was Memorial Day, an annual commemoration that was born in the former Confederate States in 1866 and then adopted in the Union, the Northern, in 1868. It is a holiday in which the nation honors its military dead. Every one of the Southern people who died were Americans, okay? It didn't happen. How can you take something in history and wrap it up and put it in a box and bury it and pretend it didn't happen? It happened. What did we learn from it? We learned a lot of things from it. And were we correct? Did we really free the slaves? No, we didn't free them. We gave them liberty from slavery on a farm, but we didn't educate them. We didn't get down and take care of them. We did nothing for prevention. And we're still intervening today, aren't we? Because we didn't do it right then. You understand what I'm saying? The problems we're facing racially right now originated after the war. Okay? It was never taken care of. Okay? We just threw them to... Some of them couldn't speak English, some of them could not. Very few of them could read. They weren't allowed to read. They weren't allowed to get educated. You know why? Because I can keep you in slavery if you're not educated. Right? And I can keep you in slavery in this country if you don't think, if you don't act, if you're not educated, and you don't know the Bible. I got you. Isn't that true? People in this country are slaves to themselves. Did our soldiers die so that some progressive group could destroy this country? Huh? I hope not. Because my dad went through hell, and her grandma lost 2 sons. I went over and put flowers on a grave of 2 airmen that never came back from Europe. Neither body got back, did they? And you know what broke my grandma's heart? The fact that she never had closure. She never got the bodies back. She had accepted the fact, like many other people, that they died in service. But every time she saw a military man anywhere, didn't one come up afterwards? And she thought, they're coming to tell me that they found at least one of them. It didn't happen. And guess what happened? What was the result of her pain and grief? She had a nervous breakdown. She was never the same after that. So her family knew. My Uncle Bud, I'm personalizing this, my Uncle Bud in West Virginia lied, and at 16 put a rifle in his hand and fought for this country. He came back. Do you know that 6 people, Dad's age, that all served, the one common factor, they all died in their 40s from heart attacks back in Petrolia, and you know the one common factor they all had? They all served in World War II. Now you tell me that isn't a factor. How does 6 40-plus-year-old men die of heart attacks? And they all were infantrymen. They all were in battle. They were all in the front lines, Lord. Well, you know what? If they've got the guts and courage to go to the front line to fight for another country, but then again, we were in World War II, we were fighting for ourselves. World War I, we were fighting for America, but not we've been very fortunate, haven't we? We haven't been like London and Paris and European countries that were bombed. We weren't like Ukraine where we've been bombed. We've had, 3 buildings hit? You know what? If they're going to go over and fight for my freedom, for me to worship as I want to, then I have to fight for that freedom to worship, to honor what they have done for me and you. Then it will not have been in vain, right? It will not have been in vain. But if we sit by and let this country die and not educate our kids on... How many kids have no idea what America was, what it was started on, what it stood for, what it is? If you don't have a past, you have no future. Because you learn from the past, you grow from the past. You know what? How about your marriages? How many of you grew into love? How many can tell me right now that when you were first married, you were just as in love and you were ready to go, man, and you were woohoo? That's a lie. I was 19 years old. I didn't have a job. I didn't know what I was doing. And I went to the altar. Well, I love you. I love you. Well, we didn't know what love was. Well, yes, I guess we had an inkling. But as the years go by, guess what? We've fallen more deeply in love because we understand love now. Is your definition of love at your age the same as it was when you were 20? Huh? No. But anyways, Governor John, boy, rabbits are flying today up here, man. My mind is just buzzing. Governor John Logan was who headed the largest Union veteran fraternity at that time. The Grand Army of the Republic is usually credited as being the originator of the holiday. Yet when General Logan established the holiday, he acknowledged its genesis among the Union former enemies, saying, quote, "It was not too late for the Union men of the nation to follow the example of the people of the South and try to get over this worst time." Would you be willing to figure that the Civil War was probably the worst time in the history of our country? I think so. Ronald Reagan. Oh, Lord God, bring us another Ronald Reagan. Here's what he had to say. Boy, I'll tell you what, you want to read some good things, go back and read what Ronald Reagan had to say. It is in a way an odd thing to honor those who died in defense of our country, in defense of us, in wars far away. The imagination plays a trick. We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise. We see them as something like the founding fathers, grave and gray-haired. But most of them were boys when they died. And they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have wanted to live. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands, fathers, grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country and for us. And all we can do is remember and give thanks. Isn't that true? You know, the Memorial Day, in my mind, is a day we celebrate so we never forget. The day to give thanks. Day to maybe think about sacrificing for others as they sacrifice for us. One kind deed a week can change the world. It's a chance for us to be obedient to our God, to our country, as the soldiers were obedient to their calling and orders. It's a time to have courage, like they had courage. It's a time to face grief and loss with courage. Susan was in a state of shock and denial. That's what happens when things like that happen. You go into shock and you can't think right. And she was recovering slowly last night. It's a time to think about our country, not just one day, but every day, and pray for it and be loyal to our God. We are told by God to be loyal to our country. But when our country's rules are going against God's rules, guess whose rules you honor? Okay? You honor. You think of family and loved ones and children and how those people sacrificed, gave me a chance to be the dad and the grandfather that they didn't get to be. It reminds me of freedom, where you have the power of choice to make responsible decisions for yourself, for others. It is not doing what I want regardless of the consequences. Abraham Lincoln said that from honored dead we have increased devotion, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people should not perish from the earth. That's one of my favorite phrases in all of history. A government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Are you the people? Are we the people of America? Yes. Ronald Reagan, no arsenal, no weapon in the arsenal of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. The inspiring words at the Omaha Beach American Cemetery site in Normandy. Quote, "These endured all and gave all. Then justice among nations must prevail, and that mankind might enjoy freedom and inherit peace." Folks, the Revolutionary War, our war for freedom, 4,435 killed, 6,188 wounded. The War of 1812 lasted 3 years, 286,730 troops, 2,260 deaths. That's where Civil War, 3 million fought, 620,000 were killed, Americans killed in the Civil War. Two-thirds though by disease and illness and blood poisoning, not bullets. 85% of all eligible blacks served in the war for the North. They did their part. The World War I, 4,434,991 served. 55,402 died. It was trench warfare. World War II, where we were attacked for the first time at Pearl Harbor. You have awakened a sleeping giant, said the Japanese head of the Navy. He knew then they did it, but they shouldn't have. 291,557 men and women, mostly men, I don't think the women were on the front line then, were killed. 670,846 wounded. 16,112,566 served. All 27 countries involved in fighting Germany and Japan lost a total of 14,952 people, 601. That's how many served. Okay? The Air Corps suffered the most deaths, 71%. 12-year-old Kelvin Graham was the youngest wounded dishonorable discharge after they found out he lied. 12 years old. Korean conflict. All right, that's Richard and Dawn, right? Korea?
No.
What's that?
No.
Vietnam. Oh, the war that you didn't get honored. Well, God bless you both and thank you for serving. Give them a hand, folks. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss any other servicemen and women? Barb served in the war. Who was, oh, Gary and, well, okay, what, Vietnam?
Yeah, Vietnam era.
Vietnam. Give them a hand. Maybe you can take on a flag. So we have 4 here today. Thank you for serving, all you men. 16 nations involved in the Korean conflict, 33,741 died. Vietnam, 2,590,000 troops, 58,140 killed, average age 23 of those killed, 340,000 wounded, 15 million North Vietnamese. Would they have been killed? Did I get that right? Would that many people have been killed in Vietnam? 300% greater amputee incidents than any other war. Iraq War, 4,487 killed, 32,200 wounded. Anyways, folks, the total deaths of Americans in all conflicts is 1,069,529. Now that is not necessarily accurate. I think the Afghan war was 2,474 deaths. So that's just, I think we need to realize what was involved in us being here today. Okay? Are you glad you're an American? Yes. Are you glad you're in America? Amen? Amen. Is this country worth fighting for? Yes. Hey, now I'm going to a lighter note. Jameson woke up. Stand up, Joe, and show us Jameson. That's what it's all about, isn't it, folks? Huh? Wow. Wow. When I first saw Ted, were you about this high when I first saw you? About that high. Maybe a little higher. Ted was my assistant youth group leader because he was always about 3 or 4 years older than the rest. Then one Sunday evening we had youth group, he brought a girl. Yeah, and it never stopped. And they're still together. Isn't that wonderful? Yes. Isn't that wonderful? Folks, I'll tell you what, I would like you, as many as can or want to, you don't have to, but I'd like as many as possible to come to the front of the church and pray for the people in Texas. Okay? I want you to come to the altar and pray for the people in Texas. Now, you certainly don't have to, but I think it would be more meaningful. Okay? Okay. Come on down. This is not a revival, just a prayer. We should be doing more of this, actually. Pray for Andy while we're down here. All right.
I know. I need to shake my mind. Oh, sorry. That's okay.
We got room here. Got Brenda in there, Nancy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Chuck, would you like to pray? I've been talking all for an hour. Would you like to pray?
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you. Thank you for the country in which we live. Thank you for all those who served in the armed services, defending our freedom. Help us never to take that for advantage of that, but to remember. We just ask you to be with us. We ask you to be with those in Texas who have lost loved ones. We know there's evil in the world. And we know that Satan drums up evil. We just ask you to just wrap your arms around those who have lost their loved ones, who have lost their kids, who have lost their young ones. You think of the children, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, that won't be able to live the rest of their lives. We just ask you to be with them. And we just ask you to comfort them. We think of those that have been mentioned on our prayer list. We think of Gladys. We think of Andy. We pray you to be with him. We pray that his doctors and nurses will be able to take care of him. His arm will be restored as good as new. We had the word that the doctor said that he thought he could save his arm. So we just pray you be with that doctor as he does the surgery. Be with Susan and the family. We thank you for their service. We just ask you to be with them and bless them and watch over them this difficult time. We just ask you to be with each one of us. Help us to look to you. Help us to serve you. Help us to be grateful and thankful for all the blessings that you have given us. So many times we often don't think of that. We pray you to be with those in Ukraine. They have been bombed another city. We pray you to be with them, keep them safe, be with them as they defend their homeland. And we pray you bring about peace in this troubled world. We just ask you to be with us today. Help us to enjoy our holiday weekend, but help us never to forget you and never forget those who have served you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Does anybody have anything to share or say while we're in a family group here?
Sally.
Sally?
I was just wondering if we should take up the collection for Susan.
Well, we can,
Gas and everything.
you mean for gas and various things? Okay.
Whatever they need.
A free will offering? Okay. That would be wonderful. You might slip Susan a card, but there again, what's the address? Call Nancy, she has the address. Okay, that's why we need a directory, we really do, somehow, okay? Yes?
My daughter Rachel, Rachel, she's
Yeah.
having health problems and everything, but she's leaving on
Saturday to
Uh-huh.
go to Tanzania to
Okay,
do mission work for Children of Promise.
okay,
And she'll be gone from the 3rd through the 25th, I think,
okay.
of June. And she'll be 40 while she's there. And my heart's just, I know she wants to do it for the Lord and everything, but as a mom and with her health problems too, they know
overseas.
that she has a health problem and she knows what to do. But I'm just appreciate prayer for Rachel.
Rachel going overseas, okay? All right, and does your, Nate's wife still dealing with cancer?
Yeah, she went through chemo and the radiation, and then she's waiting to have the reconstruction done to October, so her body can, do this through so many surgeries and everything within a year and a half that she's just going to wait till October. But pray for her.
Okay, what's her name?
Jess.
Jessie?
Just Jess.
Jess.
Yeah.
Jess and Rachel.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else while we're here together as a family? I'm reading a book, Church Awakening by Chuck Swindoll, and he says there's 4 things. There's a fellowship, breaking of bread, prayer, and gee, I forgot the first one, but I'm going to be sharing from that book. What really awakening. You just got to be careful that you don't let Satan come in and start eroding one brick at a time. Before you know it, you've got a bad foundation. Yes?
Pray for my brother-in-law. His cancer is pretty bad.
Is that Billy?
Billy.
Billy's his name. Yeah.
And they anointed him like 2 or 3 weeks ago already, and he can't keep anything down, and he basically gave up, and keeps saying he feels Jesus' arms around him, so that's a good thing.
Mhm.
But they have 12 children, and just a tough struggle.
Yeah.
On a word of praise, my niece Christina that everybody's been praying for, she's doing well. She still has all of her cancer, but she's on a trial med. And she goes for scans, and they tell her that the cancer is where it's at. It hasn't increased, her number count hasn't gone up.
Dormant.
And this coming September will be 2 years since the doctor told her she should be dead. He said 2 years ago, 2 years and 6 months ago, held her hand and said, Christina, there's nothing we can do. You have 6 months to live. And she's outlived that 2 years. She's a veterinarian. She still works and she volunteers. And she's able to do things. So I'm just praising God that he's got the cancer holding it, because it's all through her. But this trauma is working. So I know you've all prayed for her. So she's doing as well. Yes, yeah, with her cancer.
Got to pray that Nancy and I know where the healing came from, but I'm not sure her mother and her, no. So pray for them spiritually,
We
okay?
prayed for a miracle for her, but for her to have 2 years past when she should have, that's already a miracle. So
You know,
Yeah, one scripture keeps coming to me, and I know you did 2 Chronicles 7:14, but with everything that's going on in the world right now, greater is he that's in us than he that's in the world.
Right.
That's important. But anyway, that's one thing we can
well,
focus on. He's greater.
this is so good to be up here together with this is a family. You understand that? This is a church family, okay? And we welcome new people. We're glad you're here. We really are, Gary and Barb and Cindy and Ben. Cindy floats around like a butterfly, but
I'm hoping to land here before too long.
hey, look at just give the person beside you a high five. Okay, John 3:16 together. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.